It's a good morning, Mundo Monday fans, but let's talk about tonight. Tonight, when the first sliver of a crescent moon is spotted in the sky, the month of Ramadan begins. Ramadan is the holiest month in the religion of Islam, which uses a lunar calendar. Remember lunar calendars? But unlike some of the lunar calendars that we've talked about before, the ones that show us the days for Passover and the Lunar New Year, the Islamic calendar doesn't have added days or months to make the holidays always line up with the solar seasons. So Ramadan can happen at any time of year. This year, it's starting tonight, and I'll let Rashad tell you all about it in this first book. This is Rashad's Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr by Lisa Bullard and illustrated by Holli Conger. This is one of those half informational, half story books. So if you check this book out yourself and read all the stuff in the corner, you'll get a lot more information, but we're just going to stick to the basics here. Where's the moon? I look and look at the night sky. Then finally, I see it first. It's the Ramadan moon. Dad says, "Rashad, your smile curves across your face just like that moon." That moon means Ramadan starts tomorrow. My family celebrates Ramadan because we're Muslim. We believe in God, whom we call Allah. Dad says Ramadan is a time to get closer to Allah. We get up really early for breakfast. During Ramadan, Mom and Dad fast after the sun comes up. That means they don't eat or drink anything after the sun comes up. Today I'll be fasting too. Sure is a long time until the sun sets. Then we can eat again. On some nights we go to the mosque. That's where we pray and hear people read from the special book. I look for the moon on those nights too. When it's fat and full, we're halfway through Ramadan. Look at how it's halfway through Ramadan. It's got a big full moon, but the mosque is decorated with the crescent moons that show the beginning of the month. We all try hard to be good this month. My sister and I don't even fight. We also give money and food to people who don't have enough. I've been watching the moon every night. Tonight I look extra hard. There! It's a new crescent moon again. Ramadan is over. Tomorrow we'll celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Early in the morning I put on new clothes and shoes. We go to a big park with many other people. We all pray together. Dad says Muslims all around the world have fun and feast for Eid. Sometimes there are carnival rides and games. We visit friends and family. People give me candy and presents and money. It's a big old party. I decided I'm going to watch the moon all year. I know it will grow bigger and smaller many times, but finally it'll be that special night again. It'll be time for another Ramadan moon. The end. It gives you some ideas of how to celebrate Ramadan, making a can to save money to share with people who need it. Way of giving alms, giving charity. You know, Ramadan reminds me a lot of a season from my own religious culture, Lent. I'm a Catholic Christian, and Lent is the 40 days leading up to the big Christian holiday of Easter, like Ramadan leads up to Eid. And like Ramadan, Lent is also a time of prayer, thinking about the big questions of life, giving to charity, and having self-discipline. It's also technically a time for fasting, but not nearly to the same extent. Some people like to give up eating dessert for Lent, or something like that, but it isn't required. I never do it because my birthday almost always happens during Lent.
Happy belated birthday.
Thanks. The only requirement is that on Fridays during Lent, we're not supposed to eat meat, but fish doesn't count.
Fish isn't a meat?
Not according to the Roman Catholic Lenten rules. I have a friend who follows the Byzantine Catholic tradition instead.
Byzantine is an Eastern sect,
and they have much stricter rules. They avoid meat all Lent long, and also avoid dairy products, which would be very hard for my family because macaroni and cheese is our favorite Lenten Friday meal. Now, according to the Roman Catholic rules, the first and last days of Lent, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, are called fast days. But the rules for fasting are that you're only allowed one big meal and 2 small meals. No snacks or dessert. But I tell you what, Good Friday was last week for me, and even that was hard. I really wanted more to eat when I finished my very small lunch. So I admire the real fasting people do during Ramadan. That takes a lot of discipline.
Yes, but self-discipline can feel good in the long run and can be a source of pride.
It definitely is for the girl in this book, Lailah's Lunchbox. This is a pretty long book. We don't have time to read the whole thing, but it's about a girl who feels so grown up to be allowed to fast for Ramadan for the first time, but that's hard to explain to people who don't know what Ramadan is. So let's see how Lailah handles it. Lailah's Lunchbox, a Ramadan story by Reem Faruqi. Illustrations by Lea Lyon. "We won't be needing this for a while," said Lailah's mother, hanging up Lailah's lunchbox. "Imagine, I won't be eating lunch for a month," replied Lailah with a twirl. "I won't have to pack lunch for a month," said her mom, with a bigger twirl. The year before, Lailah had wanted to fast with her best friends Hind and Ishrat during Ramadan, but Lailah's mom had insisted she was too small. Remembering that, Lailah stopped twirling. She missed her friends. Moving from one continent to another had been hard. On a map in her atlas, North America and the Middle East were 10 inches apart. In real life, she was much farther away. She wished she was only 10 inches from Hind and Ishrat. She knew the sign by the highway said Peachtree City, you'll love to call it home, but she didn't agree with the sign. Abu Dhabi still felt like her home. So after a pre-dawn breakfast on the first day of Ramadan, Lailah heads off to school with a note for her teacher. This is what the note says. "Dear Mrs. Penworth, this will be Lailah's first time fasting for the month of Ramadan, so it's an exciting time for us. Please excuse Lailah from lunch for this special month. Thanks, Mrs. Malik." Lailah didn't feel so bouncy anymore. What if Mrs. Penworth didn't know about Ramadan? No one else would be fasting with her. She folded the note into a teeny tiny square and hid it in her book bag. Do you think that's a good idea? Lailah walked slowly to her class. Her throat felt dry all morning. When lunchtime arrived, she still hadn't given Mrs. Penworth her note. "Lailah, did you forget your lunch?" asked Mrs. Penworth. Lailah opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Samantha volunteered, "I'll share my lunch with Lailah." Mrs. Penworth shook her head. "Thank you for the offer, Samantha, but Lailah, please get a sandwich from the cafeteria." That was kind of Samantha. Anyway, so it was hard for Lailah to stay in the cafeteria when everyone else was eating and she wasn't, so she snuck out to my favorite place in the school library. And she explained to the librarian everything she was feeling that day. How her classmates didn't know she was fasting and she missed her friends. It felt good to tell someone all the words that had been inside her mind all morning, and especially to tell her about Ramadan. And Mrs. Carmen, the librarian, understood. "It must feel special to fast at Ramadan," said the librarian with a smile. "I do," said Lailah. "But why is it so hard to explain?" "You know what I always do when I can't get my thoughts out? Or when I get shy about talking?" asked Mrs. Carmen. "I write my thoughts down." I do the same. Do you think Lailah might try that? Lailah got to work.
She wrote neatly, adding extra loops to her capital L. She worked so hard her cheeks turned pink. Dear Mrs. Penworth, I didn't forget my lunchbox today. It's Ramadan. My mom finally let me fast. This means I won't be eating lunch for a month. Sincerely, Lailah. P.S. I'm Muslim. P.P.S. My mom wrote you a note too. Here it is. P.P.P.S. Here's a poem I wrote about Ramadan. Ramadan is a month Muslims celebrate, a time to count our blessings and appreciate. Muslims fast before sunrise to sunset. But wait, that's not all just yet. Ramadan is a time for lots of prayer. We help the poor people to show we care. So in the day I won't be eating any food, but hopefully we'll stay in a good mood. Lailah hurried back to the cafeteria to join her class. Before school was out, she quietly dropped both notes onto Mrs. Penworth's desk. At lunchtime the next day, Lailah's feet felt heavy. She was sure Mrs. Penworth hadn't seen the notes and everyone would think she'd forgotten her lunchbox again. But as she was leaving class, Mrs. Penworth patted Lailah on the back and handed her a message. Mrs. Penworth had made her capital L in Lailah's name extra loopy. Dear Lailah, I enjoyed your lovely poem about Ramadan. I'm impressed you're fasting. What a special time for you. You and your family must be thrilled. Would you share your poem with the class today after lunch? You can go to the library this month instead of the cafeteria. Mrs. Carmen's excited to see you. Sincerely, Mrs. Penworth. P.S. Mrs. Carmen told me you missed your friends. I hope you keep making new friends with our class. Lailah twirled all the way to the library. She couldn't wait to share her Ramadan poem with our class. Later, at iftar, the last meal of the day after the sun goes down, she would celebrate this day.
Whether you are fasting or not, Ramadan Mubarak!
Hit the lights.
Okay.
Mundo. What the heck?
That was better.